The Horus Heresy is a lot. There are a lot of people with suggestions on where to start, or what is important to read and what isn't. This is not that. I am a writer, and I genuinely, wholeheartedly love these books. This is the second of a series intended to give you the push you need to just go and enjoy it. Today I want to talk about Nemesis by James Swallow. I'll start by comparing it to a more well-known entry in the series. Legion is one of the most loved and memed books in the entire series. And if you haven't read it, you should. But other people are telling you that. It's one of the best satires of spy stories ever written. Nemesis attempts a similar dissection of assassin stories, and I think it is just as successful. While the genres have a lot of overlap, spy stories tend to be more focused on narratives and epistemology, the information war, lying, and manipulation. Those things both drive the plot and establish the goal for the characters and the audience. Understand what is actually going on. Any murder in the story is used to further that end. Assassin stories are the opposite, focusing primarily on the challenges and pitfalls of the planning and the execution. The story basically becomes a heist where you're stealing the rest of someone's life, and all the InfoWar stuff plays background and setting. Nemesis is a brutal and hilarious deconstruction of the latter. It becomes the 31st millennium's Fargo, a dark comedy of murder errors. Let's begin discussing the plot with the man who plotted the entire Horus Heresy, Erebus. Once his plans are fully in motion and the Imperium is aware of Horus's betrayal, everyone begins gearing up for full-scale war. For Erebus, there is one goal that sits atop all others as the highest goal and priority. Kill the false emperor. While other plans to destroy his support structures and eventually siege Terra make slow progress, Erebus decides to roll the dice and hire a serial killer named Spear to assassinate the primary target, the Emperor himself. Then, he binds a demon to Spear. This turns them into an identity vampire, and also a classic comedy duo fighting for control of the same body. Back on Terra, Constantine Valdor is having the same thoughts as Erebus. Valdor is an interesting character that comes up a lot in these books. He's the head of the Adeptus Custodes, aka the Emperor's #1 bodyguard. In the goal of protecting the Emperor, he fills the space in between Rogel Dorn and Malcador the Sigillite. While Dorn is all about fortifying and Malcador is all about controlling people, Constantine Valdor is the one that manages the task of identifying, seeking out, and eliminating threats to the Emperor. Obviously, after Horus's treachery on the various worlds of Istvan, the man has his hands full. In the hopes of ending the heresy with a single well-placed bullet, Valdor goes to the masters of the Officio Assassinorum. Each clade has their own method of making assassins, leading to 6 different fun sci-fi ideas for how to best murder people. So Valdor approaches them and asks every clade to give him their best assassin. Not the one who's best for this mission, not the one who's best at teamwork, just the best assassin by their specific clade's standards. So he puts the 3 that happen to be on Terra in a ship to pick up the others, and calls them the Execution Force. Aristide Kell. Our first character min-maxed to uselessness is a Vindicare assassin named Aristide Kell. Clade Vindicare means he's a sniper. And for the most part, he's what you'd expect from the best sniper. Cold, calculated, keeps his distance from everyone and everything, has a precise but narrow perspective, and wants to solve every problem in a single step. But mostly he's the one-note straight man everyone else can play off of. In a good way, it's a solid deconstruction of spy protagonists in general.
Beset on all sides by idiots.
Fon Tariel. At Kell's right hand is Fon Tariel, who is technically an assassin, but nobody on the ship takes his methods seriously.
You just destroyed Alderaan!
He is from Clade Vanus, where they are trained as infosites, essentially learning to study a situation so intimately that you know which door to leave unlocked or floorboard to weaken so they just, die. This is a joke to the rest of the cast, so he gets bullied into basically being the team's secretary.
What's the matter? Can't perform under pressure?
Ultimately, he's an essential character because while he has his own flaws, he's the only one who knows enough of what's going on to move the plot forward.
Hi there.
Iota. Calexis assassins are essentially the creepy girl trope kidnapped by the assassin school trope. They're all pariahs, which means they're naturally nega-psychic. The Imperium describes this as them not having souls, which is an argument for another day. That being said, they are trained to use their nega-psychic powers in conjunction with that big skull helmet to make you so disturbed or agonized that you can't defend yourself. And then they kill you. If they're done playing with you. That being said, Iota is an absolute sweetheart, genuinely one of the kindest and most sincere members of the cast if you can look past all the terrifying vibes she gives off.
What could be scarier than a massive little girl?
The Guarantine. The Eversor Clade likes drugs. Specifically combat enhancement drugs. They enjoy doing drugs, they enjoy designing drugs, and they solve every problem they encounter with drugs. So they take someone in, then they make the most insane possible cocktail for that specific individual, like juicers and rifts, and now you have an Eversor assassin. Generally, you want to keep them asleep until the mission starts. You don't want to see them awake without a mission. And you definitely don't want to be the mission. The Guarantine is their apex drug addict, ready to cut a swath through anything until he's achieved his mission or died and exploded by his dead man switch vest. Whichever comes first. Unsurprisingly, one of the funniest members of Execution Force.
Now stand back, I gotta practice my stabbing.
Coin. The character most recognizable as a traditional spy doesn't remember their own face. Clade Calidus trains people to make their features like liquid, capable of transforming into any person they desire, meaning they canonically have no sex or gender. The way it's described in the book, their sense of self is so strong they can take any face and never lose themselves. Coin specifically is classy, clever, and cultured. In most scenes, they are a reasonable voice amongst a team trained only in destruction. And they can also shapeshift into anyone.
Well, I guess we don't see our patterns until they're all laid out in front of us.
Jenniker Solam. All you need to know about Jenniker is that she is Aristide's estranged sister, and Clade Venenum does poisons. The Kel and the former Kel have a great dynamic, and I don't want to spoil any of the beats. Together, the first three go around picking up the other three. At every destination, they can't help but make a huge avoidable mess. Ignoring the trail of destruction behind them, once the execution force is complete, they begin to implement their plan to take out Horus. Meanwhile, starting their journey on the other side of the universe, Spear the serial killer and his parallel mission of regicide. What is Spear's personality, you ask? He thinks he's the best serial killer, and he wants you to watch how hard he's about to serial kill everyone. Then he gets personally offended when anyone does anything to stop him, or even inconvenience him in any way. It's as if he expects them to say, "I didn't realize how clever your plan was. Go ahead, kill me. I love being part of clever shit like this." His plan is intricate, but not good, because the story is making fun of villains with overcomplicated schemes that just work because the writer said they had to. So in this, they often don't work, or don't work the way he expects. because they weren't particularly good ideas. Every part of his plan is or includes murder of some kind, like he's just coming up with excuses to commit the murders he already wanted to commit.
Your diary must look odd. Get up in the morning, death, 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 lunch.
We see this plan occasionally through his eyes as he struggles with the demon Erebus gifted him, but mostly through the eyes of two bumbling cops who are just trying to do their best. Like most lenses in 40K, the book manages to be sympathetic to the detectives without ever letting you forget they are cops and all the unfortunate truths of the profession. In other stories, they tackle the problems with police more metaphorically. Good examples are using the Night Lords to elevate and satirize them, or using Corvus and Angron's slavers to discuss the problems with incarceration and retributive justice. In this case, it's just cops that we recognize, as detectives like on TV, being criticized and deconstructed, which is a lot more direct and unambiguous.
Pow.
But even though the book spends a lot of worthwhile time with them, the book isn't about detectives. And it's not about solving murders. It's about assassination plots and the very talented fools designing them. Every single one is different, hilarious, and exciting all at the same time. Even with the knowledge that this isn't the last book in the Horus Heresy series, these assassins make themselves worth reading about. So there you go. A bunch of great reasons to go read Nemesis. So go read Nemesis, or the Execution Force will get you. Then come back and tell me what you enjoyed about it in the comments.